Good, how are you?
Good. Hopefully that last message made sense. I've been going back to back all day, and I just wanted to grab a quick bite and then call you guys.
Oh, no, that was fine. Well, I'm here with Detective Bogle, Detective Reefy, and Lieutenant Quinn.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving us a call. I don't know too much about the circumstances or how you're involved with this, so if you can just kind of fill me in as to why we're talking today, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Been a friend of mine for a long time. He was my best friend's younger brother in college. His older brother, who died 15 years ago. Actually, yesterday, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And so I got to know before his accident. He's a quadriplegic, obviously. And then I got to know him a lot better after the accident, after his older brother, my best friend. So I went, I've known, so Zeke and for a long time. I knew him before kids. A really close friend of mine for a long time. He was a motivational speaker. Guy was he had the best attitude and the best outlook on life of almost anybody I know, even including, despite being wheelchair bound and, everything that he'd been through, just had an incredible, optimism and energy. He always had, the magnetic personality. And so, obviously, I got a call a few years ago whenever passed away and was pretty shocked. And it wasn't until about, maybe a year or so ago that I saw something about, all this mess that's going on, and it was something about, I know you guys know about, and I was like, holy cow, that's the funeral, his celebration of life, because I was there at the celebration of life. And I've known mom, and I've known his sister for a long time as well. They both live in town there. And I've just talked to a little bit over the last, I've always felt so sorry for them because, she lost both of her brothers, and they're both really good friends of mine. And nothing seemed right to me, and everything that's come out, just kind of disgusted with, and I want the truth to come out, whatever it is.
Okay.
I am an attorney. I used to be a prosecutor for a brief period of time way back, but I don't practice anymore. I'm more of a real estate guy, but I believe things need to come to the light if they're not. I think there's a lot of stuff beneath the surface that I didn't realize, that now that I realize it, it's just made me look at things in a different light.
When you found out in a way, do you remember who it was that called to notify you?
Gosh, man. I believe that is one of our mutual friends. He grew up with Outer Banks. I believe that messaged me. It might have been. It may have been. Or, honestly, can't remember that. I want to say. I did speak to multiple times. Quickly when it happened. I didn't. All throughout, every and then I continued to didn't talk to as much until after I'd seen her. I live in Wilmington. We've been down to and our kids played with their kids. We would come down to Myrtle Beach, and I actually have a business in Myrtle Beach, so I come down there a decent amount. But as far as who told me, I believe it. But right after that, I talked to, I'm also, because, busy from time to time and checking on her, and, always thought the world is until recently.
Do you remember, I know it's probably hard to remember if you don't know exactly who you spoke with, but do you remember what those conversations were like, or what did they say happened to him?
So, drowned in a pool, which was bizarre because was very fearful of water, and the thing that I can tell you with the circumstances of the death, like I would have never would take his own life. Just would have never thought it in a million years, because he was such a positive, outgoing person, and just had this incredible, just view on life and faith and everything else. I will say, in hindsight, was definitely different for maybe 6 to 12 months before that. And looking back now and knowing different things that I know now, it makes sense to me, because he was not himself. And I kind of made some notes knowing I was going to talk to you guys. But there's things that, knowing everything now, he definitely was losing his love for life and seemed more depressed. And I knew that he was struggling. I knew that he told me that the same to him. She wasn't caring for him as much as she used to. He felt like he was a burden. I know I'm jumping around a little bit. Your question was the circumstances. So when I didn't want to pry with the family, but I talked to passed away, and before I came down for the service, I came down for the service, and I also came down for the paddle out service, and I took surfing and was helping teach him surf during the paddle out. It seemed like in a pool that it would be suicide, and then there was a story that I think came out that I think really even that I believed until recently was that there was some type of malfunction with the wheelchair, because I probably didn't want to, and he didn't seem like he would do that just for me knowing him for 20 years before that. So when that story was told to me, I think I even accepted it, even though it probably didn't seem real at first. My recollection is that I spoke to that it was very important that she's doing that. People are saying that died by suicide, and she said there's even an article that says something about, and I found the article, it was saying something about a military service member dies by suicide. And she said that they don't want the kids to know that, kids to think this and all the other stuff. And so she even told me, saying things, and other people are saying that it's suicide, and that's just not what wants to the kids, all this. And so I did call, and I feel kind of silly about it now, and I've told her this, but I called her and I was just like, I can't believe you do that. Just I don't think it's and so there was definitely a story that was being pushed that, from my recollection, it came from about protecting the kids, that it wasn't suicide.
Okay.
And then I think for the last for the next 2 years after that, I really believed it wasn't.
You believed that it was an accident?
I believed it was, yeah, until about probably until a year ago, until all this stuff starts coming out, and then
Okay. Do you remember the last time you spoke?
Our Facebook chat is gone because, as you probably know, they've gotten a hold of his stuff and shut it down. He had a lot of Facebook stuff and stuff for speaking and being like motivational speaker, and all that stuff is gone. So I can't even pull up my Facebook chat with him. I'll tell you, let me look at my phone. My guess is it had probably been a month or so. I certainly didn't talk to him like the day before or anything like that. My last text chat with him on my cell phone was October 4, 2020. He was texting me because my mom passed away. My mom loved. She had him up at her place in Alexandria when she lived there. My mom died real suddenly. And I'm fairly certain that I talked to him after that passed away.
September of 21.
Yeah. I definitely talked to him between then. I just don't know exactly when, and I don't know if it was a phone conversation or if it was a Facebook chat, but we definitely talked. We didn't talk like every day or every week, but we would definitely, it would be rare for us to go a few months without chatting. I would talk to him about, we talked about faith, we talked about kind of bigger stuff, and he was only of like a few people that I probably would talk to about like deeper stuff, So,
Yeah.
I'd be fairly certain that I talked about my mom. He shared with me that he was struggling. You could tell in his voice that he was struggling. So 2021, I would say the last like 6 months of his life and stuff, he seemed, I think I even remember seeing some things on Facebook, man. He just seemed like he was struggling. And one of the things that I wrote down to tell you guys was, he did tell me that he felt like a burden, and he felt like wasn't the same to him. And he also told me that he's been living his whole life with this hope that he would walk again. Was telling him that he had to accept the fact that he would never walk again. And I don't know, he seemed, for like, I would say the first, maybe the six months or a year before he died, he seemed a lot more like melancholy and sad, and just that he was having, he also had a really tough run health-wise. He had bed sores, and he was in a lot of pain and all that stuff.
Yeah, all that makes sense. So you feel like the last 6 to 12 months, a lot of his change in his demeanor was from the health-related issues and his relationship diminishing?
Yes.
Did he ever allude to an affair or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No, and I just think that he said things that made that he was feeling like a burden, and that he could tell she didn't want to take care of him anymore. And I think that, I mean, he was in a wheelchair, and I've always thought she was like the most amazing person. I mean, and if you want to know my opinion, like, in like a freaking religious cult, and she's under the influence of that guy. Just knowing her, how I know her, she is a very, I don't mean to sound this the right way. I would say probably was the brother that I was friends with told me this, and I remember this vividly. Like, he was like, girlfriend was when they were first together. Like, he was like, you'll see when you meet her. Like, she's amazing. Like, she's beautiful. She does all these things, and she seems so strong. But is the strong one in the relationship. Like, she's weak is the word I was going to use. And I believe that she is totally manipulated by, she is incredibly devout Christian woman. And so being like, I'm not trying to excuse her. If you had talked to me 6 months ago, I would have told you that I felt like she was being totally manipulated and probably like, not even really like, I'm not expressing myself as clearly as I'd like to.
You're doing great.
But, like, I do believe she's under his control, like a cult or like brainwashed or something like that. I do believe she's one of these people that, especially because it's a past, it's not like it's just like some guy, but it's also like they're like he's a quote unquote man of God. Like, I think she's totally under his control, and I think that from what I've seen, I think that he was, and from what I know from talking to like or so, like I know that things were, and I have seen the stuff online for the Robbie Harvey guy, and that stuff bothers me, but I've looked at some of it. Like, I think that there was a relationship of some sort beforehand, and it all makes sense to me because I think was checking out, and then from I never thought it was. My initial thought was it was suicide. Then I was sort of persuaded by that's not what the was. I never thought about insurance money, or never thought about an affair or anything like that. But I certainly think all of those things were factors now from the other stuff that I know. Just that sort of typical, I want to say typical, I'm a Christian and faith is important to me, but there's that sort of submissive Christian woman, do you know what I mean?
Yep, makes sense.
And my wife's a Christian. My wife's just not a submissive Christian woman. And I'm not trying to be, demeaning toward her or anything, but he is the perfect victim for a guy like him, and I think that guy's a freaking sociopath.
That's fair.
And I think he was in there, whether or not they were having a full affair or not, but I think that and I have talked to, a bit, I don't want to do a huge Redskins fan, as am I, so I flew to Dallas and went to a game with him when he lived in Dallas 15 years ago. I keep it, he's a big, Redskins or Commanders fan, and we talk football and stuff, and I would like to have a relationship with him. It's a weird spot, but we just talk about that, but I know that stuff was going on with, and the kids know that stuff was going on with whether it was like consummated or sexual or not, but there was something going on beforehand, and that's why I'm going to the church, nothing to do with the church. This was all happening before,
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you, if you had to speculate, what do you think? What do you think thoughts are in terms of making this a priority for it to be accidental death as opposed to suicide? Do you feel like she has something to gain by doing that, or do you think it might be tied into her religion and having a tough time accepting suicide?
Total speculation here, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't, I've seen video on site immediately after, and that was the only time where I started to think about insurance and that being sort of pushed. I know that. From what I know of, I don't know that she is calculated, or I don't want to say smart enough, but I don't see her as somebody that on her own would push that. She's never seemed like money mattered. They live pretty meager, like they like money. She's not wearing fancy stuff or anything like that.
Sure.
I know that they've always they never had like a lot of excess money. Had disability and stuff like that, but I thought that it was protecting the kids from suicide. And then when I did hear things about the wheelchair and malfunction, like 100% said wheelchair malfunction, and that it had done it before and it had like lurched forward. Mm-hmm. So I believe that I don't think smart enough or the calculating type to go do that, and that's why I think she's just been. And that doesn't make her not liable for or not guilty of it, but it to me explains how things got to where they were.
Okay. Well, and you know him really well. You said 20 years, so I'll ask you this: what do you feel happened? Do you feel like it was accidental, or do you think he did commit suicide?
I think he committed suicide.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because there are, in talking to, and please don't say anything about my conversation. Like, I think tough spot, and like he wasn't going to get better. Thinking back to conversations that I had with him about, him having to reconcile with the fact that he'll never. I think he lived for a long time off hope, and he was doing a lot of public speaking. He's an incredible public speaker, and I think that helped him. Like, he had hope and he had a purpose, and then he seemed like he just got really weak and had a lot of medical issues the last, probably even the last couple years. And I think he had just kind of lost his purpose. And I do believe he committed suicide, but I believe he committed suicide because of, get him in. She would wipe his butt, bathe him, feed him. Like, when I went down to Texas, I stayed with them. I've seen, she had a crane. This is before the kids and stuff. Or maybe the kids are really little then, but like couldn't exist in life without her taking care of him around the clock. Mm-hmm. Now, after he was in his wheelchair for the day, she could go to the work and he could, cruise around the neighborhoods and everything. And that's why they moved to Myrtle Beach, because it was very handicap accessible. But like, when he told me that things were different with her, and that she maybe was, maybe just growing tired of it, or wasn't treating him the same, and wasn't bathing him as much, and wasn't like the same toward him. And I think that made him lose his will to live, because he couldn't do anything without her. She took care of him,
Yeah.
around the clock.
That makes sense.
And then, and then if your wife is having an affair with somebody, and it was, and again, I'm speculating here, but it's stuff that I've seen on the, it sounds so weird me saying this, especially as a former prosecutor, but like, I've seen court documents and stuff people have posted on TikTok, and I've watched some of these things, and, if there are, like, people are like, they were together, working together, seen together, or in some type of relationship, died, church, like, in North Carolina, we have a charge called criminal conversation, where, having an affair with someone's spouse is like there's a criminal charge for that. I don't know if you guys have that in South Carolina. And there's also like civil. And because what it recognizes is, if you mess with somebody's spouse, you can destroy their life. Mm-hmm. Just emotionally and every other way, and financially. And so, like, this guy's destroying Chris's life. he's preying on. Anybody that you talk to that knew them would tell you that she was a very submissive, subservient wife, and just that sort of prototypical Christian, soft-spoken Christian woman. And man, I think she just got taken over by this freaking sociopathic, cult-leading, fake Christian. And I think it's the point that he took his own life. And I think afterwards, whether that was, we'll know like how calculated it was, but I think afterwards there was clearly a story put out about that it wasn't suicide. I kind of fell for it. I did fall for it. Whether it was for money or not, I mean, I'll never know, but
okay.
Not that I see now is nothing like she is. It is a different woman than the woman that I've known for 20 years.
Sure.
I would have never in a million years thought that. And I don't think any of that happens without, he's clearly a pretty manipulative person. I only met him once. I met him at the service, but I don't know him. But
okay.
I would love to see that guy go down for the rest of his life on something. I gotta tell you, the Fed's gotta have something on him, man, to go,
Okay.
And I do feel like, sadly, like she just got swept up in all this stuff. Doesn't mean she's not responsible,
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Hey, this is Quinn talking. How are you?
Good.
Good. Hey, just one question. You mentioned a fear of water. Do you have any examples or instances where that any kind of statement to that effect, or maybe guys were somewhere where that could be demonstrated?
I mentioned I didn't hear the first thing.
Oh, a fear. I said a fear of water.
I just know that scared of water. I know that 5 or 10 years told me that he had been he had gotten in one of those wheelchair accessible, or the things that put you into the pool.
Yes, sir.
So I know that he did that. He talked about being really scared of water. I think probably anybody in his family would probably tell you that. I know that I before, but I also believe that was repeated to me from probably is the only reason that I even bring the is because when I talked your died, I think I didn't you right away. I talked to but I know without a shadow of a doubt that was very distraught and upset that people were saying it's suicide, and it wasn't. But that wasn't coming. Trying to keep the peace and protect the kids, and I believe that they were me, especially at the end. I believe that they knew that was sort of checking out and maybe taking his own life, but I think that was pushing that narrative.
Yeah, and I completely understand that based on some of the stuff we're hearing. And I only asked that question just trying to determine, is it something he would go to the pool in the morning, or he'd be afraid to do that himself, or things like that, The
pool, I think because he was quadriplegic, I think being scared of water would probably be pretty natural. But I do know that he went to that pool a lot, and I don't think he was scared to go there. I think that have used that narrative to make people think that it wasn't suicide.
Okay, fair enough.
Let me see. I jotted down some notes, man. I've been talking all over the place. man, is that like there was definitely a mental state beforehand. I kind of chalked it up to just, you know, the conversation that he told me about her telling him that he needs to make peace with the fact that he'll never walk again, and the fact that he had a lot of tough, like physical, like he had been in the hospital and had some bed sores and stuff, and but I know that in his mind things were different, because he told me that like he just felt like he was a burden and she wasn't the same, and he had a tough time. I wish I had my Facebook messages, and I wonder why anyone would feel the need to go delete Facebook messages. He communicated on Facebook a lot, and I don't know why anyone would ever feel the need to go delete or shut down an account like that, because I mean that'd be like scoring his cell phone if you could score it. You know, I'd be interesting to see if they wiped his phone, or because he always had an iPad too, and he could communicate very well by text.
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. Well, very sorry for the tragedy of your friend.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
I'm going to turn you back over to Chris here.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that's everything.
Exactly. Good. Really appreciate your time. I know this isn't easy to talk about first off, but we really value your opinion and everything you've brought to this interview. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, thanks, guys.
Be safe.
Take care.